YouTube, Ravens Flock. Welcome to Maurice Butler's World of News. And today we are going to discuss how the Baltimore Ravens can help save and turn around their season after a disastrous 1-5 start. Other than the Chiefs, I feel like, man, this 1-5 start is like the most surprising storyline of this early football season, and hopefully the Ravens can turn around and get it together. I believe that they could turn around and get it together, and let's get into how they can start to turn their season around today. Number one is the defense. Okay, the defense. Before I state a number one glaring problem, I want to state a good problem that the Ravens have had on defense, and that's this. Number one, we were horrible this year against the run. Why are we horrible this year against the run? Because previous years within this defensive system, what would happen is every year we're number one against the rush. We're number one against the rush. We're number one against the rush. But why are we number one against the rush? We're number one against the rush because, teams just feel like, boom, they could just drop back and pass it on us. And I know, real football fans, real Ravens fans, they know and get what I'm talking about. I know y'all remember them Pittsburgh Steelers games with Ben Roethlisberger, and it's a dogfight, and in third, fourth quarter, they air it out. They just pass it on us. They not even worried about running the ball. Same thing with the Bengals. Drop back, air it out on us. They not even worried about running the ball. Next thing you know, we number one in rush defense and 32 in pass defense. So I feel like that's been the problem surrounding the defense all these years. So to try to mitigate the threat of the pass and still be effective towards the run, what we're doing is a lot of dime packages. One less linebacker, one extra cornerback. When we're moving Kyle Hamilton all over the place, one extra safety, and that's how we try to fix teams trying to be air dominant on us. And this year, what's happening is we're in that dime concept, and the Lions exploited this perfectly. We're in that dime concept, and Marlon Humphrey's in the slot, or is a woozy, or sometimes because of motion and man coverage, which we're also going to get into the pre-snap motion of the offenses. Because of the motion, this is even Nate Wiggins at slot sometime, and we all know Nate Wiggins could use 5-6 pounds of muscle, and they're just running right at that defensive back, and they're having tremendous success. So that's one thing that we need to fix in a defensive scheme. Okay. The next, and what I feel like the very most important thing that we need to fix in our defensive scheme is the pre-snap defensive looks. Okay. There are these plays, okay, where teams are motioning. Quarterbacks, teams use motion to get leverage, to get numbers on a particular side, but they also use motion to try to figure out whether the coverage is man coverage or zone coverage. And this is where I put a lot of blame on Zach Orr. We have, ever since the Kansas City Chiefs game last year, okay, with the defensive scheme, whenever there's a motion and we are in zone coverage, there's a motion. There's, most of the time, teams know what they're doing, because most of the time it's a number one receiver. It's Jamar Chase. It's Amon-Ra St. Brown. It's a team's number one receiver coming into that slot. You can tell we're in his own defense, and it's like Roquan Smith, is lined up against CeeDee Lamb. Of course a team know that you're in zone defense, because you would never, ever, ever in your wildest dreams have Roquan Smith one-on-one against CeeDee Lamb. And what teams are doing they're exploiting their zone defense and they're just beating us down in the middle, beating us down when they need big pass plays. It's not coming on the outside. It's coming right down the middle of that zone defense that quarterbacks and wide receivers are already knowing that we're playing pre-snap. So right there we're in a disadvantage, and it's not like we have this ingenious defensive coordinator who are like giving you one look pre-snap and then after the snap is something totally different. No, that really be a zone defense, And the one game I can continue to go back to where we should have fixed it and haven't fixed it, and that's just the big problem is the Kansas City game last year, the first game of the season where Rashee Rice went for 103 yards off of 7 catches. And I just keep thinking of just Roquan Smith just constantly behind him, chasing him. Malik Harrison last year. And then, this year's Teddy Buchanan, Trent Simpson, just constantly behind these wide receivers, chasing them. And it's a very big problem with this defensive scheme. And we are the Baltimore Ravens. We are a defensive franchise, defensive culture franchise. We pride ourselves on packing a good defense and bringing it on the road or presenting it at home. And I don't think that it's a scheme thing. I don't think it's a personnel thing. I just think it's just these little things, little kinks and twirks within the scheme that need to change and that needs to be better. Also, and lastly, with this defense, is a star pass rusher. A star pass rusher, okay? We have never had our Michael Parsons, Max Crosby, Aiden Hutchinson. We've never had that type of guy. We're never up, that close in a draft to draft those kind of guys. And, we value middle linebacker, we value cornerbacks, and we value safeties. So we play them. So we pay them. So by us paying them, we rarely have money for the pass rusher position, man. And I just feel like, I think of Von Millers, I think of Chris Jones, playoffs, close game, last drives, strip sacks, fumbles, big plays. And at first I thought we could get away with just signing a veteran pass rusher off the couch and, we'll blitz a safety or a cornerback every now and then and we'll get home. We were, top 3 last year in sacks, with this, we brought Jadavion Clowney back to life. And I remember, Alvis Dermerville and people who come here and revive their careers, as pass rushers. But I think it's about time, on the other side of Lamar, on that defense, we pursue a Michael Parsons. We pursue a T.J. Watt, Max Crosby kind of player, a player with a motor and a player that can make plays in crucial parts of the game. No more no more experiments. Okay, no more Dafio ways. David Ojabos, proven dogs out there with high motor that can get to the quarterback, okay? So number one, how the Raiders can try to fix this disastrous start of a season is just doing those 3 little things, on defense as far as the pre-snap with the disguise, as far as figuring out how to be in that dime look to be defensive against the pass, but not be susceptible to the run. We gotta move Kyle Hamilton around. We gotta get back to that. And lastly but not least, a star dominant pass rusher. Number 2, on the offense. A lot of people like to talk about the offensive line. I think we have an exceptional offensive line come back from last year. Daniel Falalele is too big to be getting moved and to not be getting a decent push. But I feel like We got Ronnie Stanley, we got Roger Garden on the outsides. I feel like our offensive line isn't the problem. I feel like sometimes guard can be the problem, but I feel like that's not that much big of a deal. And plus Lamar's ad lib ability and and his mobility and his ability to be able to get out of the pocket, extend the plays, and and make good on those plays, and those plays not end up as turnovers or disastrous situations. I feel like with that, you can leave the O line where is that? I Derrick Henry, okay? This is King Henry. Yeah, we talking about. But I mean, we have to think. Buffalo Bills, we had that game in the bag. Derrick Henry fumble in the fourth quarter. Detroit Lions, we had the game in the bag. Derrick Henry fumbled in the fourth quarter. Now in the last couple weeks, it's like, okay, he's not fumbling, but you feel like instead of him running with a free mind, he's more concerned of holding the ball, holding the ball, holding the ball. And we aren't seeing the signature Derrick Henry stiff arm or the 80-yard runs downfield, because instead of him just Derrick Henry in it, he has to worry about the safety of the football. So it's sad to say, and this is King Henry we talking about, but I think those two early fumbles are crucial and that definitely, affect his confidence negatively, and it's going to continue to throughout the year because he wasn't able to run. So what I feel like the Ravens should do next is speed. Speed, speed, speed. Okay? Speed kills. Teams are coming out there with their big guys expecting to stop Derrick Henry. Keaton Mitchell, Zay Flowers, and somebody who needs to get on that field a little more, LaJohntay Wester. Speed, gadget-like playmakers. Where you got speed on the outside, speed in the backfield with Lamar and Keaton Mitchell. I just think, in today's NFL, speed kills. It's an issue, especially when teams are bringing their big guys in, because they know y'all the Ravens and y'all like to play bully ball. So they want to go toe to toe with you and hit you with strength, and you got to hit them with speed. You got to counter that with speed. Mark Andrews has definitely lost a step. That fumble and social media criticism he got off season and dropping touchdowns, he had definitely lost a step. His confidence is hindering him. I feel like, and Baltimore Ravens on the offensive side have to figure out how to put more speed on the football field. Next is execute better. I mean, that's just a general statement, execute better. Every team, everybody needs to execute better. But given our coaching staff, given the players that we have, all the names that we have, I mean, without a doubt, the best roster name-wise in the NFL. We gotta be executing better. We just have to execute better. We gotta make plays. We just have to, and that's that. And I saved what I feel like is the most juicier topic for last, and that's John Harbaugh. Okay, so let me say that I feel like John Harbaugh is the best thing that ever happened to the Ravens franchise. Okay? For years, the Ravens have been known as this aggressive, hard football team that come out and hit you in the mouth. We had players like Dark Wolf retired because of the weight room. And, everybody complaining and talking about, things that's going on in the weight room. And that's just because John Harbaugh was the type that has this team ready to play. And he's the type that's just about aggression, winning in the trenches, hard-nosed football, beating up on your opponent till they can't take it no more, bringing the fight to them. And that's one thing I feel like that's a winning mentality. I feel like that's a recipe for winning football. And John Harbaugh is a winning coach. He is an older coach who is like old and wise, but he has like this youthful kind of feel. And I feel like, he can also touch the youth. So I feel like he just as a the type of person he is, his locker room presence, and just I love John Harbaugh. I don't feel like John Harbaugh's the problem. When bad things happen, everybody wants to blame the coaches. And even though a coach, Zach Orr, is the issue here, like Greg Roman was for so many years, it's like we looking at John Harbaugh. One criticism I do have against John Harbaugh is that when coaches are doing bad, for example, Greg Roman, who I feel like we wasted 2 extra seasons having Greg Roman, even though we were #1 in the league in rushing, we wasted 2 years with Greg Roman because he needed to go. And it's like that now with Zach Orr. John Harbaugh, he chooses these coordinators. And it's like when the water get hot, the seat get hot, he stands by him. And that's loyalty. That's loyalty. You stand by them because they gotta figure it out sometimes. And I mean, I respect the hell out of that loyalty. I respect the hell out of him, putting himself on the line for them to give them enough time to be able to figure it out and be successful. But I mean, it comes a point in time, man, where John just has to, I'm not there behind the scenes. I don't know what kind of conversation he's having with them, but I mean, hold them accountable. They have to be held accountable more. And when you come out and take that back and, I still got faith in Zach Orr, even though, we're 31st in this and running and 31st passing, it's just like, bruh. How can you? I get why you're saying that, but John, let's be for real. And I just feel like, man, that's just really been his only downfall is the hiring of the coordinators. Every year, they take Raven coaches and just upgrade them. You might be a defensive line coach next year. You get a defensive coordinator position at another team next year, or like how Mike McDonald, you're going to be a coach. Every year teams are picking away at our coaching staff every year. So it's up to John Harbaugh to appoint these first year defensive coordinators, first year offensive coordinators. It's up to him, and it's a gamble. But when teams are constantly picking people out of our coaching staff, it gets tough. It gets tough. We experienced it last year, losing Mike McDonald for the first few weeks of the season, and so I don't blame John Harbaugh. I don't want him to get fired, not this season or next season. But if we fix the defense in the ways I said, with that offense, if we put more speed on the field, and just because of the name of all the players that we got from top of the roster to the bottom, if we just execute the way that we know that these players are supposed to execute, we're going to make the playoffs. Right now, the Patriots and the Jaguars are in playoff spots, okay? I strongly believe that the Chiefs and the Ravens are going to take them last 2 playoff spots for them. Somebody's going to tank, okay? Some teams are going to tank. And then, it's teams that rip off them 7, 8 win runs. We need one of them. We need one of them, and I mean, we're capable of it. I mean, I feel like every year we have like a streak where 7, 8 games that we win. We can do it. So these are the few things, because I feel like there's a lot more to be said. These are some of the things I believe that the Ravens can do to help fix and turn around their season. If you don't like something I say, if you agree with something I say, if you have an opinion, put it down in the comments. Thank you. And man, thank you for tuning in to newest, best channel on YouTube, Maurice Butler's World of News. We out.